Hello and a happy new year to you. Today this video is probably one of my last few Blender videos ever on this channel. Basically my house is coming and we are probably gonna make more videos about the house and from conceptualization to actually getting it. So the content will be most probably moving away from tutorials like this and more about the house. So just to start off this video, we'll be showing you how to open a default scene that the pre-made models that I've done, and basically how to use them. So we're just going to go with file open, and then we're just going to open a default file. And basically you will see something like this once you press the open button, and if you see this pink color rectangle around the camera, basically you will need to go to the side tab here, which is in view, and you have to turn off the camera to view. Basically you are not going to view from this camera that we were looking through just now, and this is basically the model that we have. If you already have your preferences set up for the sun position thing, which was in the last video that I made, it should have it set up automatically, and basically when you press this viewport shading button to turn on the render, it will just render it automatically. So you can actually see the lighting already in the scene itself. And of course when you bring your camera down, you can actually see the ceiling as well, because everything's been set up this way so that you can actually view the house from above. And once your camera goes inside the house, you will actually see the ceiling inside. And the next thing I want to cover is this area here in the screen, which is called the outliner. Basically what it has is that I have the model grouped up in the different sections. Basically there's one for lights, there's the pipe estimate, which is basically at over here, which I assume there are two pipes here in most BTOs, and then you can always turn it off by pressing the eye tool. And then same thing for the beam estimates. So all these beams and columns are basically these things up here that you cannot knock down. Basically they are in its separate layer, so you can turn it off when you want to add stuff in the house so that it's easier to view. Yeah, you can just turn it off, and if you render, it will still actually render because this is set to enabled in render. This camera icon right here says that when you render it, when you press F12, it actually renders. So yeah. Okay, so the next thing I want to cover is basically this camera. So if you go into view and you press camera to view, and you press 0, basically what happens, and I mean 0 on the numpad, basically what happens is that you jump into this camera view and then it becomes your render camera. And what you can do when you press F12, you can actually render a scene from your camera view, and this is how you're gonna render your stuff. And of course this is it. I'm just gonna close this quickly, and if you want to jump out of this camera view, you just untick this button from the view tab, and basically when you start moving your mouse around, you will exit that view and your camera stays as where you last put it. So if let me just go back and pressing 0 again and enabling this, I'll be able to move the camera inside the house. And so see, if I just remove the beams here, but I kept it renderable, which is this camera. If I just leave it on, if I press F12, it would actually just render with the beams, so you can actually see the beams are still in the scene, and you can see it in the render. Alright, so this is taking a bit of time. Just gonna pause this and close it. So moving on, the next thing I wanted to show you is basically let's just get out of this camera view for a moment, and let's look at this circle around the entire model. And this is basically a global transform tool, which you can see over here, which is highlighted when I selected it. It's called the main control. Basically what you can do is that you can move this entire model around, you can rotate it based on what sun angle you want, And also you can scale it in the x-axis, so in case you want a mirrored version of the model, you could just easily do this and scale it by -1, and this will give you the opposite view, the mirrored view of the model. So this is a easy and fast way to do it. So one thing to note is that because it's set up that the ceiling is viewable, like unviewable from the top, but actually viewable from inside the house, there's actually a plane that represents the ceiling. So be careful when you're selecting something from the top. You may accidentally select the ceiling itself and, I don't know, accidentally delete it. So do note that there is a ceiling plane. Like you can see, I'm moving it around. It exists even though you can't see it from the top. So anyway, basically all the doors and the windows, you can actually rotate them. So for example, if you wanted to rotate this window and open it, you just select the frame of it, press R and press Z, which is the axis you want to rotate in, and this one of course is Z. The top one is in X, so you can open the windows like that. Same things for the doors. The doors are of course in Z axis, so you can move the doors like this wherever you want to open. In fact, you can also flip it if you want, place it anywhere you want. These doors, however, for the toilet doors, they're a little bit tricky. I do not have a rig set up to open and close them, so this one is just you just gotta to make do with it somehow. But everything else is actually openable, so no worries about that. The next thing I wanted to show you is how to quickly block in stuff into the house. So just gonna take an example, just gonna block in the fridge right here. So I'm just gonna go in the house, I'm gonna press Shift A and add a cube, because a cube is the most similar shape of a polygon to match a fridge. So I'm just gonna use a cube, and basically this, we have a cube right here and we have the dimensions, and you can find this in the item tab right here or here on the right hand side. Under item, you can see there's the dimension, and this is a 2 meter by 2 meter cube. And the next thing you want to go is you probably want to visit you know, a local department store with all the fridges in stock, and basically search for one that you like. So for example, if I like this giant fridge right here, I'm just gonna click on it and let it load for a while. And yep, this is a very nice LG fridge, very common. And basically you will always find these things called specifications or specs, and they would usually have the dimensions right here in the website itself. So we're just going to key in the different dimensions in this as well. So the Z will be the height, so I'm just going to type in 178.7, and I can type in centimeters as well. And then the Y and the X is basically the width and the depth, and I'll just wing it and use different values for each. 73.5 cm. Yep, so we can quickly see that this is basically how the fridge looks like. So of course, I'm gonna guess that this is the front of the fridge right here, because it kind of looks like that. Yeah, so I'm just gonna quickly move this guy in. And of course, if you want to know how to move stuff around in Blender, watch the basics video, which teaches you how to move stuff and rotate stuff around in Blender. So yeah, this is basically how I blocked out all the items I wanted to buy in my house. Very quickly, you know, you can actually see if your fridge or any other item is a bit too big for your house, and you know how claustrophobic your small little 4-room flat is gonna look like if you put a fridge in the middle of the entire house, which was initially what we wanted to do. But yeah, I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous having this here, and then you know, after adding a dining table somewhere, it's gonna get all, you know, clustered up. So this is a great way for you to actually try to visualize how you want to put stuff in the house. And the best part is that you could, you know, do a render like this and then show it to your ID as well. to see if they can figure out another way to put stuff in your house based on the items that you want. So for example, for my house, I actually have a 75-inch television that I wanted to buy, and I basically put this TV everywhere I could think of, and I gave out. I sort of gave up halfway and then let my ID to take over, and I basically chose the ID that gave me the best solution for what I wanted, you know, the problem that I had. So yeah, you'll see it in the coming few posts up in the couple of months ahead. And yeah, this is basically how I blocked in my stuff. You could always do this and slowly populate your house as well, especially using Blender Kit, which is in another tutorial as well. So you can actually drag and drop stuff in, and basically what you can do is that you can basically sort of, you know, let's say if I wanted to search for a fridge, especially if you wanted to make your stuff look better, what you can do is that you could just like grab this fridge and drop it in, and then basically scaling it to the size of the box, so it, you know, it sort of matches how it looks when you render it, so it looks kind of nicer instead of just a box. So you can always do this on your own to block out your house and make it look as awesome as you can. So basically, yeah, that's it for this video. I hope this helps, and yeah, look forward to my future videos, which will be probably about the actual house that we are gonna live in. Alright, see you around.